What if the emperors of the Holy Roman Empire revoked the privilegia in 1444 in EU4? The legendary Chins, the von Habsburgs of Austria, with their legions of loyal imperial subject vassals alongside their beefy mission tree from the Emperor DLC, have the potential to do whatever they want. But we know that this is a paradox title and the AI cannot be trusted, so we're just going to have to watch and see. Patrons got early access to this video, and if you want early access, consider supporting. Links are in the description. Also, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this to come. And here we are, 1444, Austria, Emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, and also the overlord of everybody within the Holy Roman Empire. They are all normal vassals of them, but there's a special type of vassal. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but I'll explain it a little bit. The long story short is there's a special type of vassal whenever you revoke the privilegia, and it makes them only consider their power to you. So the way that it usually works is it calculates its liberty desire based on its strength as well as the other vassal strength combined versus yours. The way that it works with the revoked privilegia is it only calculates its own strength relative to you. So that's why everybody is very loyal, and even the biggest ones, like I think Bohemia here might be like 10% or something like that. Yeah, Bohemia is 4% now. Actually, it just went down when I was hovering over it. So everybody's very loyal for now. And in order to prevent it from actually just forming the HRE, I went in and I made a mod and I just made it so they can't click the button. It's physically impossible because it's not there. And of course, this will unlock quite a few things for Austria's mission tree because a lot of it is kind of conquering this area, and it does include subjects. So they still can push for their PU on Hungary, and I believe maybe one on Poland, but I could be wrong. Either way, you guys know how we do it. We speed 5 and we unpause. And since we've unpaused and allowed it to kind of calculate it, Austria is still the #2 great power in the world, despite having crazy amounts of development tied up in subjects because it only calculates half of your subject's development. On paper, not as strong. In reality, probably significantly stronger than the Ming. And opening moves, Austria allies Aragon and England. Very smart moves, and attacks East Frisia to, bring them into the fold, so to speak. And you can see that they've gotten plenty of claims, and those are from their mission tree. You can see they've already clicked through quite a few of them, and there's quite a few more. A lot of them are late game, like these revolution ones, of course. But yeah, a lot of these give claims for PUs and stuff like that as well. So they are going to have a very good game. Even if they don't conquer a lot of land, they will get a lot of personal unions, and their power base will just continue to grow. And of course, I have to show you guys the power disparity here for the HRE versus the enemies of East Frisia. 464,000 infantry with 111,000 cavalry. And sadly, it actually looks like England gave up Maine in the surrender of Maine event because they're cowards. They have an ally in Austria that they probably could call in because I'm sure Austria dislikes them, though Austria is too powerful to have a rival, so that's something we have to consider as well. And this is pretty spicy. Genoa got a claim over here on the Ottomans, and their overlord of Austria has declared war on their behalf, and it's going about as good for the Ottomans as you would imagine. They are getting dominated, and it looks like Albania even is getting in on some of the action. And the best part is that Albania is actually defending. Sadly, Scanner Bro is dead, but they are defending, and it looks like they're going to win considering the fact that the Ottomans have a lot of men, but it looks like they can't even get past their rebels to get their armies over here out of Anatolia. Also, what in the world is going on over here? Aragon took like 10 provinces from Castile. I don't know how they managed that, but they even took Toledo. So Castile, safe to say, not doing well, but still has a chance of getting the Iberian wedding, I think. I don't really know exactly how it plays out with the logic of it, but yeah, Aragon just absolutely dominated them. Also, the Teutons were enabled to join the HRE. They are not a vassal, but they are part of the HRE. Yep, this is about what you would expect. Austria took a province here, and a bunch over here. Didn't even give them the claim that they had for Genoa. Meanwhile, the Ottomans annexed Karaman and white-pieced Albania. So I have no idea how things are going over here, but it looks like Austria is going to have some interesting borders, to say the least. Also, shout out Hiss and Kaifa eating up like most of AQ. That is pretty good. Meanwhile, out east, Oirat is almost full occupied. Mongolia and Oirat are at war with Ming, but Ming having lots of rebels, and Jiangsu up there actually almost uniting the Jurchen tribe. So definitely some interesting stuff we're gonna have to keep an eye on over here, even though it doesn't really have much to do with the HRE. And it looks like it's time. Hungary actually took a huge bite out of Bosnia and Serbia, and now is about to get their personal union by Austria. I always love the vassal swarm because of all just the absolute little guys running all over the place. Like, just look how many little stacks there are, and on speed 5 they're just like it's awesome. I love it. And the thrills continue with the Austrian Pontic steppe continuing to grow, and the Second Ottoman War, this time with claims on Constantinople itself. They have gotten the personal union over a very strong Hungary and even ate a bunch of Croatia, I assume in the same peace deal. Likewise, they have allied the Danes and the Livonians, and looks like the Danes have pushed a bit into the Rus and probably going to prevent Muscovy from doing good, at least with an ally like Austria. I would assume they would, but you know, only time will tell. Also based Satmi over here with actually like 5 provinces, so you don't see that very often. I'm very happy to see that. And out west, Manchu has formed, and Ming is doing quite well. How about this Hatakeyama or whatever, doing very good over here on the Japanese Isles as well. Timmy, whose color, might I add, looks very pretty with this mod, is doing okay as well, though it doesn't look like they have grown a whole lot with their subjects, more grown around their subjects all the way into India. And of course, the English have to attack the Scots. It's the English way, so they're attacking the Scots. 1517, and Austrian Eastern Europe has a bit of a ring to it, don't you guys think? The borders between Muscovy and the Mamluks is actually really funny because you can't easily see where one starts and the other ends. I thought that was pretty funny. Meanwhile, Spain has formed. I assume Castile got the Iberian wedding and united Spain, and with that they're not allied to Austria anymore, so that's a strong ally that they lose. They're also no longer allied to Denmark, but they do have England, who has managed to hold back France because obviously France can't attack them lest they face, you know, all of this. The Reformation is upon us, but it doesn't look like it's doing that well. It looks like Austria is keeping their subjects in line. It's mostly just Protestants in England and Denmark, and then reformed up there in the Highlands. We do have some centers though, so it's only a matter of time before things start getting converted, but it looks like we've got 2 Reformed centers of Reformation and 2 Protestant centers. So the third one I don't think I see anywhere. As far as colonization goes, it's only Vinland actually, and then we also have a Danish East Florida. We have the Caribbean, which is Portugal. And then in South America, it's a little more interesting. We've got an English colony, a French colony, and Rio de Prata, which is Portugal. Spain and England are both in Guinea at the moment, but I don't think anybody has gone farther than that. Also, 2 interesting things. Congo, massive, united the entirety of Central Africa, and also Somalia has formed, which is very cool. India doing their Indian thing. Vijay, Balmanas, Malwa, Jaunpur, Bengal, no major powers popping out, but Ayutthaya over here doing well in their region into Burma and apparently South China, because it looks like a certain Manchu has kind of diminished the power of the Ming. Ayutthaya is actually winning a war against the Ming right now, and clearly Manchu has done pretty good because Ming was going all the way up into here, so Manchu's clearly taken a lot of their land, and they've even integrated the Poor Koreans. Austria went defensive for the first idea group. I don't know if I would necessarily recommend that, but you know, influence or something like that gives them a higher force limit from subjects would probably be good, but you know, I just let them play their thing. I'm not touching it. But a little over 70 years, and Austria has doubled their development, with Spain in the second place with almost 1/4 of what they have. Followed by Poland, Mamluks, Portugal, Muscovy, England, and then France. But France is probably not going to be around for much longer, as England and their ally of Austria is probably going to make some moves. And a bit after 1600, things are looking even more spicy for Austria as it did before. No surprise, they're absolutely dominating, but they're well into what's calling it Western Europe, and Spain is currently getting dominated in a war as well. The Ottomans have migrated out of their homelands of Anatolia and over here into Mesopotamia, pushing a bit down into the Mamluks lands, who have lost a ton of land to a bunch of different people, and it looks like they're about to lose even more to a sub-Saharan African nation. Meanwhile, Somalia absolutely popping off over here on the Horn of Africa all the way into Arabia. Bengal is gone, and Vijay is now Bengal, apparently. And my goodness, the border war in China, created by that Qing. Is it just me, or does it feel like we see Qing a lot? I feel like I've seen Qing in like 4 of my last 5 videos. It's pretty impressive. I always love when the AI forms a formable, except for Great Britain. That one happens way too often. Or France. Based Japanese South China, and we've got Majapahit Australia with Portuguese Australia as well. Spain and British have split this region, which is called the Niger. It's named after a river. I get a lot of comments from weirdos who think, oh, it's edgy. It's not how it's pronounced differently. Now behave yourself, or I get the belt again. Spain and Brazil and Portugal in La Plata. French Peru, splitting it with part of Colombia, who has broken free from Spain, and British Columbia as well. Cuba has broken free from Portugal as well, and this Mexican native is doing pretty good right next to New Spain, next to Aztecs. Spanish California, Pacifico Norte, Spanish Louisiana, and then Spanish Florida, splitting New Denmark here, who is blue because they are actually a subject of Sweden now, because Sweden annexed Denmark. And obviously the big Polish bear in the room is Poland, which has actually just become Russia. Polska Gorum. Reformed has been eradicated up in Scotland, and it looks like the Catholics have absolutely dominated, and Orthodox is only a couple of little exclaves in former Orthodox lands, but there's no Orthodox nations. New World's a bit of a mix and match, Catholic, Protestant, Catholic, Protestant, Catholic, Protestant, but mostly Catholic in the south. And in what is most likely the most terrifying turn of events, California has conquered the majority of North America, splitting it with Vinland, New Scandinavia, 13 colonies, and of course, Illinois over here in Alabama. There's one green province here. We'll take a look at that in a moment. And this Mexican native from the very tip all the way up into central Mexico. Respectable. Brazil did okay, hanging in there. Colombia still exists in Venezuela, and then Cuba still exists, doing well. But it looks like they've got some pirates over here. Scandinavian Guinea, okay. Somali, South Africa, Portuguese, South Africa, and Somalia. Yeah, Somalia did pretty good and then did pretty bad. Meanwhile, the Mughals have formed up here in the north, and Persia has conquered all of Iran and a very large portion of India, pushing Delhi out of Delhi, and Bengal is now Siam. As a matter of fact, a large portion of this area is actually Siam, all the way from Burma into Borneo, pushing Brunei, the Borneo native, up into the Philippines, which is hilarious. Meanwhile, Qing going after Genghis Khan's biggest dream here, all the way from Japan to the Central Steppes. And of course, I have to point out the Majapahit Tartary because that's a thing, and I have no idea why. I assume it was uncolonized because Russia never formed, so then they just colonized it because it was available, if I had to guess. They held on to parts of Australia, splitting it with Portugal. And Scandinavia formed via Sweden and pushed Poland out of Russia, and now they are like the Golden Horde, I guess. Take a second. Leave a comment down below. Do you guys know who this country is? Do you know who this blue is? I'm curious if you know, because if you guessed stupid, sexy Flanders, then you get a cookie. But yeah, Austria, not white anymore, formed Germany. It looks like they integrated enough of their subjects to click the button, and of course, they became the thing that they hated the most. If you ever want to make an Austrian mad, call them German. I would know. My editor is indeed an Austrian. There is quite a few little random vassals still hanging out in here, but for the most part, they have been integrated, especially the big ones. And the Protestants held out on the British Isles and in the British territories over here in France, but the rest is all Catholic. It makes sense though, because Austria, Catholic, right? You know, it makes sense. Regardless, the Counter-Reformation definitely did well in this timeline. Catholic California, very based, and then the rest of North America is all Protestant because that is Scandinavia's colonies, which funnily enough is opposite of what they are because Sweden is Catholic. The Buddhists have stricken back and have converted a chunk of India, which is pretty cool. There's an achievement to start as like Kote and convert all of India to Buddhism. It's a fun little run. I did it on my stream. And they also converted a decent chunk of the Indonesian islands. Catholic Somalia, that's something you don't see every day. And all of this stuff is just an occupied peoples, I guess. Meanwhile, there is one Protestant province in South America. Well, two, but the one is Great Britain, which is funny. And the Gascons have pushed the Basque out of the Basque country, and it is now Gascon country, I guess. And the Franks have pushed back the Bretons. It's all Manchu over here, if you didn't know. The Qing dynasty is a Manchurian dynasty, which is a nice little bit of history. Very cool stuff. We have some Brazilians stuck between Portuguese and Platinians over here with some Castilians just on the corners of the coast there. And I actually said that Colombia was a breakaway from Spain, but it turns out it was actually France, which is really funny. I guess since France spent a good portion of the game getting dominated by Britain, they decided to go colonial, try to, you know, escape their oppressor, so to speak. But don't worry, lads, the Holy See remains intact under one and only Pope Man. And in true American fashion, this is all Mexican, just like in real life. And last time I said that, somebody called me a bigot, which is really funny, but let me just explain. I like to make jokes. I don't have any prejudices against certain people. There's a lot of Mexicans that live in the United States, and I'll tell you what, you are my amigos. I like you guys. Regardless, Norwegians and Danes make up a good portion of the East Coast, with a little bit of Mexicans, Castilians, and a couple of American provinces over here, though they're relegated essentially just to like Pennsylvania and New Jersey and some New York. And then there's just one Polish province in Newfoundland because reasons. And of course the American enclave down here in like a Venezuela or Guyana or whatever this area is called. And taking a look at the final numbers, it's no surprise that Germany is well out double Scandinavia, over 10,000, almost 11,000 development. Scandinavia a respectable 5,000, with Qing with a very respectable 4.2. That Mexican native ending in the 4th place, right in front of Great Britain, with Siam and Persia, and then California, the number 8 great power. Of course, truly terrifying military hegemon of Germany. I think I've seen this one before, but hopefully this timeline, it's to preserve the peace, so to speak. Strength in numbers. If you guys enjoyed that video, make sure you leave a like on the video and leave a comment down below with a suggestion of something you think that you and your friends would enjoy seeing next time. If you want to join my Discord, my subreddit, my Twitter, you can check them all out there, linked in the description, as well as my Patreon. My patrons actually get early access to these videos, so if you want early access, you can check that out. It is also linked in the description. That's all I've got for you for today. I hope that you all have an absolutely wonderful day, and until next time, stay chill.